WrestleManiacs, Maniacs. This is the podcast, it's called WrestleManiacs. Adam, Donald, Indian Josh, they're not together forever and son. WrestleManiacs. This is the podcast, it's called WrestleManiacs. WWE, AEW, TNA, JPW. WrestleManiacs.
Yes, it is I again, WrestleManiacs. It is Josh here with the WrestleManiacs review for WWE Monday Night Raw. And boy, oh boy, what in the world did we end with? But again, we're going to get there. We've got a debuting group, let's just say, coming tonight. We also had a pretty good amount of matches tonight, as well as a return that I wasn't expecting. And we have our main event for the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view already set. So definitely we're going to get into that. Welcome all who are joining me and who will be joining me here quickly as well. So let's just get started on Monday Night Raw. So we open up again, and what I love about of course, Wyatt sticks, as we had found later on, is during the WWE opening of the Then, Now, Forever Together, we had some technical glitches as well show up, kind of doing the whole Bray Wyatt style, black and white and distortion of the audio. So definitely love that. And throughout the show, there have been many different threads of that. But again, let's get started. Surprise, surprise, we get a wide shot of the crowd again. Of course, we get a recap video before that of the Clash at the Castle and the disaster that was Drew McIntyre's world title shot, with CM Punk ruining that, as well as all the winners of the crew. Again, you can watch my review of that. But again, we open it with a wide shot, and we are shocked to hear the return of Seth freaking Rollins. He actually, let me change this back to a right color. This isn't SmackDown. This is Monday Night Raw. We've got to have that red, baby. So let me change that real quick. There we go. That's right. Seth Rollins returns and Damian Priest confronts him. So we get Seth Rollins coming out talking about he's been gone for a minute. And basically he's wanting to get back the title that he lost, and essentially the title that he made in the World Heavyweight Championship. And as soon as he starts talking about that, out comes our World Heavyweight Champion, still World Champion, Damian Priest. Basically says, look, I understand, my plan wasn't to really cash in on Drew. It was supposed to cash in and win the title from you, basically being kind of a de facto babyface in a way, saying, I'm not going to have my guys come out and attack you, anything like that. This is just me and you talking, Seth. And instead of having Seth jump through the hoops to win the Money in the Bank and then challenge and put his title in danger, he actually says, you know what? No, I want to fight you man to man. Basically challenges him and says, how about you just fight me at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and I'll put my World Heavyweight Championship on the line. And Seth Rollins agrees. And later on in the show, it is official from Adam Pearce that the main event for the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view, at least I should say de facto so far, could change. It could be the undisputed title. But one of our main events, let's just say, for Money in the Bank pay-per-view is for the World Heavyweight Championship, Damian Priest versus a returning Seth freaking Rollins, getting his rematch for the world title that he lost to Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, which then, of course, as we know, Damian Priest cashed in when CM Punk cost him that championship at WrestleMania XL. So from there, we have that going on. And next, we go backstage with the Alpha Academy and Adam Pearce. Basically, Chad Gable really doesn't act like anything happened. Essentially says, look, I need to have another shot at the title. And Adam's like, no, you need to go back to the bottom of the barrel and you need to earn your spot again and challenge again. So he's like, fine, I'll fight anybody. Bring anybody out there. Adam Pearce kind of chuckles to himself and said, all right, that's fine. Go ahead. If you're ready, head on out. And so we lead to that. Again, Chad Gable versus Braun Strowman. This match, I hate to say, wasn't really much of a match. There were some good spots, I guess. Strowman tried to do the Strowman Express on the outside, runs into Tozawa. Basically, Chad pushes him in the way, and he basically chunks Tozawa into Chad Gable. Goes and really hits a spinning power slam and beats Chad Gable clean. 1, 2, 3. And really the idea is, again, he won clean. As I was watching it, I was like, well, what the hell, man? He already lost it. Clash at the Castle. Did we really have to have a match over that quickly? But of course, this is the story of Chad Gable and the Alpha Academy. So he calls them on there, basically berates them as usual, gets into Tozawa's face, and then Maxine gets into his face. He basically takes her crutch she's been standing on, throws it out of the ring. Then Otis finally steps up, basically has enough, basically chunks Chad Gable across the ring into the corner, rips his shirt off, basically acts like he's going to attack, and instead turns around. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Actually, Chad Gable ends up slapping Tozawa after Maxine moves, essentially knocking him down. And then Otis, of course, does the turn, knocks him over into the rope or the turnbuckle, excuse me, the turnbuckle. And basically the Alpha Academy just walks out. Otis walks out on him, and he's basically saying, I don't need you guys anymore. Forget you. You're all fired. You're all let go from the Academy. Doesn't matter. So we get the official breakup of the Alpha Academy, but that'll be reinforced a little bit later here, and we'll talk about that. We then go back to the Judgment Day hanging out, of course, and Priest is actually questioning Finn about, hey, look, you took the room key. What's the deal with that, man? And he's like, look, man, I'm just trying to protect Dom. I'm trying to keep him from himself, essentially. And he says, look, when I win the Money in the Bank championship, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for a championship and win a world title. They have a little tense face-off, and, of course, Finn's just ever the jokester, says, no, I'm going to go after Cody. Don't worry about that. But in the background, as this is happening, we see Dom keep looking in the bag for something, don't know what. Finally said, Priest looks back and says, what are you looking for, man? Did you lose something? And he's like, yeah, my purple cow vest. You guys have seen it? You know where it is? And they're like, no, we don't know. And so the mystery is, of course, and we kind of can guess, but who took Dominic's ugly-ass purple leather jacket, cow jacket that he has? So that leads us into our first qualifier match for the Money in the Bank spot, Io Sky versus Kiana James versus Zelina Vega. And this match is pretty good, I guess, between the women. I don't want to say a mismatch, because that's not necessarily true. We got a pretty good amount of action, but basically what happens is Liv Morgan comes out, of course, does her typical interference thing, essentially, and this is where we learn that she's got the jacket of Dominic Mysterio. Io Sky ends up winning, actually, thanks to Liv Morgan's interference. And again, we find out that Liv Morgan has actually taken the jacket, and she's the one that has it. So we go from there, and again, Io Sky is now the first woman into the Money in the Bank match. Let's see here. Hey, Landry, what's it mean? But Wyatt 6'6". I don't really know. We're going to get into that here in a little bit. I would venture to say maybe, again, Wyatt being, of course, Bray Wyatt. The 6'6". I would dare say the 6'6" is my guess, is the fact that these are six individuals, essentially, and that's kind of the idea behind it. Again, maybe there's something biblical to it. We'll get into that, and maybe I can dive into that. So great question. I can definitely dive into that here a little bit. Let's see. A little bit of Chini 68. You're saying that Dom and Tiffany are winning the Money in the Bank. We don't know if they're in there yet, but definitely anything can happen in WWE. And you know what? If they're in the match, hey, great, I'm all for it. So definitely love the idea. Low Fettuccine 68, thanks for joining us tonight. Again, Io Sky is, again, in the Money in the Bank women's match. Now, we did find out later from commentary that it's going to be 3 from Raw, 3 from SmackDown. Same for the men's as well and the women. So 3 on Raw, 3 on SmackDown for both men and women. So Io Sky is the first one of the Raw side to be in the women's Money in the Bank championship, or a title thing. So we move on, and now we have got Sami Zayn coming out, basically as Intercontinental Champion, announces he's still IC Champion, and says, look, I'm ready to move on from Chad Gable. I need a new challenger and ready. Out comes the Chaos, Mr. Spear himself, I guess you could say, Braun Breaker, basically throwing his hat out there saying, look, you ready for a fight? You want to fight me? Let's do it. And Sheamus comes out. Mr. Fight Night himself comes out, and they kind of get into a thing where Sheamus starts talking to Sami Zayn, and Braun's like, hey, man, I'm right here. You don't see me? So they get into it, and Sami's like, look, I got an idea. These fans here don't want to see you talk. They want to see you fight it out. So how about I go talk to Adam Pearce, and whoever wins challenges me for the IC title. So we have a little bit of a tension moment there, but goes from there. Let's see who else. A little fettuccine. Yeah, the 6th of the 6 is Bray Spirit. Yeah, I definitely would agree. That's definitely what I read on X, and I think that makes total sense. So thanks for that clarification. And so what we have next is going backstage after Sami the Hoe is going to set up Braun Breaker versus Sheamus, which is going to be quite a banger of a match, I would definitely say, later on this evening. But we'll talk about it. We get Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark running into the Unholy Union, which they were in the mid-interview basically talking about how, look, they won the tag titles in Scotland, essentially, and, nobody's going to be able to beat them because the Scots were behind them there. And, surprisingly, there wasn't much cover-up, or at least, I should say cover-up, follow-up with Jade and Bianca here. There really wasn't. I kind of wonder if they're just kind of putting them on the back burner and making it going to be Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark versus the Unholy Union, which this was kind of a babyface promo. Again, they technically were heels, but I guess because maybe they were so popular in Scotland. I don't really know. Scotland's a weird setup because, again, everybody from Scotland was kind of the babyface there de facto. But I'm not going to be upset if the Unholy Union are babyfaces. I mean, Alba Fire was really a good babyface when they were feuding in NXT with Isla Dawn. So I definitely could buy into it. And Baszler and Zoe Stark are just a badass women's team. So definitely love this feud. So yeah, I'd love to see them two feud. I could care less about the Pretty Mean Sisters at this point. I don't know if it was an audible, as I said in my review, but Jade messing up 3 times. And they even referenced it that Jade technically tapped out twice when she was in Shayna's chokehold. Now, again, there's some rumors online that maybe Shayna actually really put the chokehold on her because of the botch. And they went back and forth on Twitter talking about how Jade blamed rope issues. But then she was like, well, yeah, but Zoe Stark was able to hit 3 different springboard moves without a problem. She's the MVP. So, again, I'm sure they're kind of playing it up. But I don't know, guys. I was shocked that they won again. I know that, now we know what we know. I was really shocked that they won that night, though. So who knows? But anyways, moving on from here, we're going to see a clash between them two, and I definitely am looking forward to it. Definitely wouldn't mind that at all. We then get the long-running feud, seemingly never ends, Dragon Lee versus Carlito, and Carlito actually wins thanks to a distraction from Liv Morgan and Zelina Vega brawling. So, sequence of events, of course, JD and Dom are out there essentially doing what they do, essentially. And Liv Morgan comes out, and basically everybody ends up fighting everybody. Braun Strowman runs out. Essentially, Rey Mysterio knocks JD, and then they brawl. Dom and Rey Mysterio run into each other. And again, basically, Liv Morgan does her thing, and he's like, man, I need my jacket. Essentially distracting everybody. And Zelina Vega actually comes out from behind and attacks Liv Morgan. And causes kind of a Donnybrook on the outside. Meanwhile, while Dragon Lee is going to do a top rope move, Jay's able to grab his leg from under him, put him sitting on the turnbuckle. Carlito hits his backstabber. Bam. 1, 2, 3. And Dragon Lee actually loses this match to Carlito, which, I can't say is technically a surprise. Again, as I said, this feud just seems to never end. It's all right. But again, Carlito's on the Judgment Day. I kind of wondered, they just seem like they don't know what they're doing. It seems like they were kind of just everywhere, essentially. Oh, I'm sorry. Again, forgive me. Braun Strowman did not come out during this time, so forgive me. But at any rate, Carlito is your winner of this match. And now, again, we have Liv Morgan and Zelina Vega having an issue based upon the earlier, her costing her the triple threat for the Money in the Bank title. So my guess is going to be Liv Morgan, and it's going to be Zelina Vega for the title over at Money in the Bank, which is fine. I mean, gets her to SummerSlam, right? So we get another reinforcement that the Alpha Academy is no more, at least this iteration, from what I'm understanding. And Chad runs into Alpha Academy backstage. Basically, they're packing up, and he's like, where are you guys going? I didn't tell you could leave, essentially. And Otis backs up, and they all say, look, we're done. And they walk off from him. Now, here's the interesting part, and I questioned myself on this one when Chad lost to Sami Zayn. Sometimes we all like for people to, it seems like they go on a losing streak and then they win the big one. And, I can't say that's for certain for Chad Gable, but he announces that, look, instead I'm going to get the Money in the Bank title. I'm going to become world champion. Because they reinforced the idea that he had challenged for the IC title 5 times on commentary earlier in his match with Strowman, and he always lost. So I'm not necessarily against the idea of Chad Gable going for the world title. And look, I can't tell you that Gunther's going to win the world title, but if it was me booking, Gunther wins the world title. A couple months down the line, we get Chad Gable, Gunther, world champion. I don't know. Again, just a booking idea, and love to hear your ideas on that. Dodala. Hey, Dodala. I am so over the LOWO feud with Carlito. Yeah, hell, there's no damn feud. It's literally just, we're going to battle each other. Oh, we win. Yeah, it's probably the worst feud ever at this point. I mean, look, the LWO angle in WCW got really convoluted real quick, but it always was around Eddie and wanting Ray to join the LWO. And now technically he's leader of LWO. I don't know. At this point, the LWO feud and really the LWO just seems so feckless right now. They seem like they have no direction. And Carlito is just hanging around Judgment Day because I don't know why. Because why not? So we now get a recap again of Drew McIntyre losing the world title due to CM Punk. And Drew McIntyre comes out. They have this entire thing. And literally as he's talking, CM Punk's chant starting up CM Punk. CM Punk's not there because he'll be there on SmackDown on Friday. And he basically says, I can't do this anymore. I can't. Screw this company. I quit. And actually, that's it. That's the promo. Screw this company. I can't do this no more. I quit. And walks off. And as we go to the back, we see coming back from break, Triple H tries to talk to him saying, hey, look, man, you can't do this. Let's talk about it. And as he's leaving, he walks off from Triple H, literally not saying a word. Just walks past him and says, no, man, no, I don't need that. And then Adam Pearce is chasing him, basically saying, Drew, let's go to my office. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. So big development that Drew just has finally had enough of being screwed. And I mean, I think it was one of the guys on Twitter I talked to. He said, maybe this is a way they turn and do a double turn where Drew is now the baby face and Punk becomes the heel. I don't know. Again, as I said in the review, Punk kicking Drew in the balls was, if he was still injured and had his arm in a sling, I could say, okay, that makes sense. But he had nothing on him. And technically, from what I'm reading, Punk said this week is supposed to be, today actually, he's supposed to go to the doctors to see when he's going to be cleared. So was kind of a heel move when he kicked him in the balls. So, I mean, again, I don't really know. Oh, Ram Jam, I'm sorry. Ram Jam, you mentioned that too as well. Yes. Sorry about that, Ram Jam. Yeah, I definitely think that, this has got to be something that, I don't know. Again, to me, I think this kind of writes off Drew McIntyre for Money in the Bank, so we don't have to worry about what to do with him. And it's not a bad way to do it. I really don't mind that at all. So, again, Drew McIntyre, in theory, is now gone from WWE. He's quit, and he's had enough, and we may not see him for a little bit. So, we'll see what happens there. Next, we have got Damage Control versus Katana Chance and Caden Carter. And actually, due to Lyra being ringside, Chance and Carter actually pull off the win, pinning Kai, which I think is interesting because this match was okay. I mean, I'm not really into Chance and Carter. They kind of just, they have athleticism. I don't know why. They just bore me to tears, though. They're just, I don't get their characters. They're party girls, I guess. So I wanted a change in their characters, at least for me. Damage Control, of course, as I've said many times, get rid of Kai, don't need her. And I wonder if they're going to actually do that because Kai took the pin here because Kairi Sane was distracted by Lyra on the outside. And Io Sky in the backstage basically warns them saying, you two, something needs to change or she's going to change things herself. And to me, my hope is Kai gets kicked out. Don't need her. Don't even know why she's there. And let's get the triad of terror with Sky and Kai and Asuka. So hopefully my dreams come true that way. We'll see. So again, pretty interesting to say the least. Excuse me. Next, we get Braun Breaker versus Sheamus. The idea is whoever wins this is going to be going for the #1 contendership for the IC title at Money in the Bank. But it actually ends in disqualification when Sheamus is about to back up and hit the bro kick on Braun Breaker. And here comes Ludwig Kaiser, the guy that just is in the thorn in the side of Sheamus, pulls him out essentially, knocks him out. Not say knock him out, but basically he's going to do the whole running drop kick thing to the leg. But here's what happens first. So it's crazy. So they start to brawl. Braun Breaker hits the spear on Sheamus because Sheamus throws Kaiser over the barricade, essentially. So spears Sheamus, basically turns, looks at Sammy. Essentially, they argue. Gets kind of a cheap shot on Sammy. Sammy's being held back by security. Security's pushing Breaker back. And essentially, as that happens, Sammy leaves, right? Braun Breaker is at the stage, essentially, or like kind of near the beginning of the ring, I guess. And here comes Kaiser to take advantage and, again, start beating up on Sheamus again, puts his leg and is basically going to do the running drop kick like he did to New Day. And surprisingly enough, the camera goes pretty cool here. As he's running on one side of the ring here comes Braun Breaker on the opposite side. So when they meet, boom, Breaker hits him with a spear, basically saying that he is the dominant one of all of these four individuals. And we essentially go to break at that point. So a pretty interesting move for Braun Breaker getting the disqualification, but I definitely didn't hate this segment. Let's see here. Drew should have shoved Pierce and then quit. Yeah, Ram Jam, that probably would have been better. Again, I think, as you mentioned, a la Bret Hart, pushing Vince back in the day and saying this is bullshit. Yeah, that'd have been a lot better. I would agree. But again, there's a little bit different now, but I'm kind of wondering we're getting in the Netflix era, so we'll keep on going here. As we continue, Dom actually is walking backstage, and Liv Morgan's like, hey, Dom, in this little bitty alcove of the arena, goes up to her and says, hey, can I take my vest? And she's like, yeah, if you want to remove it, go ahead. And as she's zipping down in the background, you see Damian Priest coming up. So another compromising situation for Dom that's being seen is he's unzipping Morgan's or his jacket or vest off of Liv Morgan. Who knows what she's got underneath there, right? So as he's doing that, he's like, "Hey, man, just get out of here." And so Dom leaves, and he's like, "Look, Liv, you got to leave the boy alone. He's not interested." And Liv's like, "I don't think so. I think he's more interested than he's leading on." She laughs and walks off, and Priest just kind of just shakes his head. So this is really getting a little bit of I don't want to say attitude era flavor, but look, I mean, Liv is giving him a room key. They're doing the whole she's mounting him thing and talking about it. Even, of course, I loved McAfee's kind of breakdown of it earlier in the night, saying that she's mounted him and doing things. I mean, so they're definitely playing with a little bit of here. It reminds me of pre-attitude era where we're starting to kind of hint at things. And if this is any indication, the Netflix era, I think, is going to be a lot crazier as we get there, because now they're not going to have any televisions to worry about, as far as I know, television stations. So we'll see, though. We then get a backstage promo with Karrion Kross basically saying, look, you guys are tired of my guys. I'm tired of you guys interfering. So let's have a one-on-one match. I challenge any of you guys in the New Day, Kofi or Xavier Woods, to a match next week. You leave your partner behind. I'll leave my guys behind, and we'll settle this. And as they're talking, you go to New Day, essentially, and Kofi steps up and steps forward in front of Xavier Woods. As Xavier Woods was about to say something, Kofi says, "You're going to call out my name? You're going to call me out? Yeah, let's do it next week." And behind him, you can see kind of Xavier being a little frustrated that Kofi jumped in ahead of him. But he says, gives him a high five or whatever, does their thing, and that's it. So are we going to see a breakup with the New Day? Not for sure. It's definitely something interesting. A little fettuccine 868. Drew's going to AEW. I mean, I can't see it, but then again, I would have never seen TNA people showing up in NXT. So could the real true Forbidden Door be open with AEW and WWE? Hey, stranger things have happened, and WWE has already worked with, let's see, Bloodsport, with TNA, with Noah, and NJPW, all in one count, and only half the year. We're only half the way, guys. So we're in June, and they've already worked with 4 other promotions, 2 Japanese promotions, 2 American promotions, by sending stars over there. Now, granted, I mean, you could argue Tatum Paxley wasn't much in TNA, but Baszler going to Bloodsport, AJ Styles going to Noah, and then Shinsuke for, I forget who now. I think he went over there for something. I think Muda's retirement, maybe. At any rate, they're working with everyone, which is crazy to me. Drew has history being in TNA. Yeah, I mean, hey, could we get Drew versus Moose saying, screw it, I'm going to go for another Champions World title, and then suddenly CM Punk shows up in TNA? Hey, I mean, look, I mean, I don't know if you're still watching or not, but what are your thoughts on that? I mean, if he goes for the world title over in TNA, loses because Punk interferes again, and finally has lost it, and just challenges Punk to show up on Raw, face him one-on-one, and face him at SummerSlam. That would be a pretty interesting thing. Ram Jam, I didn't even think about the TNA crossover. It would be a huge thing. Granted, you have the Hardys there right now, but damn, dude, that'd be a really good story. Might be some fantasy booking. Yeah, Punk was in TNA in the early days. You are right, too. So there is history for both. Punk being at the genesis of it, and Drew kind of being somewhat more recent, I guess, in 2016, I think. Is that right? Ram Jam, but hey, great idea. What an interesting storyline that would be. Man, you got me fantasy booking now over here, so thanks, Ram Jam. Then we finally get to our main event for the qualifier for the triple threat, for the Money in the Bank qualifier triple threat match. We get Jey Uso versus Finn Balor versus Rey Mysterio. And the finish was pretty good. This is a pretty decent match. Again, I think it never got out of first gear, really. I think it started to get in the second gear, but of course, timing-wise, we had to go. But I did like the sequence of finishing moments to where basically Finn Balor ends up hitting the coup de grace on Rey Mysterio, pins him, and as he lays back to pin him, bam, Jey Uso hits the Uso splash, 1, 2, 3. And now Jey Uso, celebrating with the crowd, is now the first individual, the first male to go into the male Money in the Bank ladder match at Money in the Bank. But here's where it gets a little crazy. And before I go and read these comments here, let's see. Yep. Ram Jam, you said that. Finally, Jey Uso wins. Now, to me, I mean, now I'm torn. I mean, they had a 5-minute video, hype video for Jey Uso at the Clash at the Castle PLE. It was so long. It was almost a commercial, but they're putting over that idea he wants that Money in the Bank championship, or briefcase, I should say. But Chad Gable as well is now talking about Money in the Bank aspirations. So I kind of like that. I don't really know who I want to win. I have so many favorites, and I could see them going so many different ways. So excellent storytelling with Triple H. But of course, for weeks and weeks, we've got the QR codes, we've got these certain things showing up, and we finally get the Wyatt 6, say that twice, debuting, and basically they massacre the entire backstage area, including Chad Gable. So let me kind of set the scene if I can here. And again, you have to go watch this on YouTube for sure. But you open up again, the lights go down, kind of like the theme. You have that. Then you have the door with the blue light, like Bray Wyatt came back in 2022. It opens, and instead of Bray Wyatt, of course, he's unfortunately passed away. You get this creepy damn monstrous woman coming out. Then we know it's Nikki Cross, but just this broken doll looking figure just crawling on all fours, just crawling towards the light. Puts her hand on the lantern, the blue lantern that Bray Wyatt used as well. Then we pan to the backstage, and she basically stands up and points I can't do it because of the camera, points this way, back to the back area. And as we go backstage and turn the corner, we see this giant-ass dude with a giant rabbit mask and a hammer that says help. Granted, that is Eric Rowan as the bunny, as Ramblin' Rabbit, I believe, come to life from the Firefly Funhouse, because as we've seen when Bray Wyatt returned, all those puppets were abandoned, essentially, I don't want to say dead, but no longer alive, let's just say. And so then as we go there and follow her along in the backstage, there's smoke everywhere, billows of smoke just coming out. We go to the gorilla area, lights are popping off. I mean, it's dark in there, and we're having that dum, 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 but never the music, right? We see the there's people on the floor knocked out. It's dark in there. You turn to the left a little bit, and sitting Indian style, it's crisscross style, excuse me, not Indian style anymore, crisscross style. We pan, and it's a man in a buzzard mask. Now, again, I believe that's supposed to be Dexter Loomis, but again, we see this just sick-looking Mercy the Buzzard again from the Firefly Funhouse. And we keep going on, and we actually see Chad Gable kind of slumped over like this, and this blood here on his head, as well as there's another backstage tech producer that basically has his head like this, and there's blood splattered on the wall. Really horrific scene. I was kind of surprised. Again, very dark, very bluish color, but very violent. Because there's people just laid out. Lights are popping on and off in terms of there's when I say popping off, I mean kind of like if you think of a light bulb busting, right? It kept busting essentially, and things are just flashing like the lights have gone off, like a horror movie, really. And as we turn or whatever, going deeper into the backstage area, we turn, and there's this guy in this sort of like, it's a pig mask, but the pig mask is almost like a gas mask if you think of it from like the 20s and 30s and 10s. Creepy as can be. I believe that's Joe Gate. And then let's see what we got here. The angle seemed a bit darker than what Bray Wyatt has done before. Yeah, Jim, I definitely agree. But anyways, we keep going on. Oh, here, sorry again, Ram Jim, for that delay. This angle seemed a bit darker than what Bray Wyatt has done before. Oh, hell yeah. It's a heck of a lot darker. I have blood. Chad Gable, I don't want to say dead, but knocked out with blood trickling here. Almost like he got shot or something. So, yeah, definitely a darker tone to it. But again, as we turn again past the corner, suddenly we see Uncle Howdy, but in a different mask, but we all know it's Bo Dallas. And as he walks forward, doesn't say a word, just has his kind of Uncle Howdy walk, essentially. And as he slowly walks, we pan behind him, and you see Huskus the pig. You see Mercy the buzzard, as well as you see Ramblin' Rabbit. And I'm going to take a guess, and I don't know this, that Nikki Cross, whatever implementation she is, whether she's Abby the Witch or something else, I think she's something else completely, like a broken doll. That's what it looked like to me, at least. They all stand on stage, and that's 5. But as pointed out earlier, at this point, the belief is that the lantern is the 6 in the Wyatt 6-6. Now, here's the interesting thing about that, is that, the idea is that Bray Wyatt is the spirit. He's there in spirit because that's what the lantern represents, is the 6th member, Bray Wyatt, who is no longer here. And, he picks up the lantern, of course, he being Uncle Howdy, looks at the lantern, goes, "We're here," and fade to black. Now, guys and gals, did I love this segment? It was creepy. Her crawling out of the door, I almost told my wife, I said, it's almost like the demons of Bray Wyatt's Funhouse are crawling out of hell, essentially. Seemingly, they've now come alive, which, again, that's what kind of was alluded to when Bray Wyatt returned back at Extreme Rules way back in 2022. You would see pan shots of the crowd of the Fiend. Again, not the same Costumes, of course, very, very, very different. But again, it seems like Bo Dallas is trying to go darker, really, as Ramchad mentioned just a bit ago. We saw in his comment that, yeah, they're going darker. What a wild Raw. The only thing I have to say is we were warned, and the massacre, as said, had begun. Now, there have been theories that it was Chad Gable. That, again, it's interesting. Chad Gable was taken out. Is that truly who their target was? I thought it was Jey Uso, as I said on Twitter, that, he assumed that the Fireflies were now his, even though Bo Dallas is still around and employed. So I thought maybe this was going to be a heel route, but I don't know. They attacked everybody. I didn't see any other stars on the ground. If you guys saw anybody else, let me know. But all I saw was Chad Gable was really highlighted at this point. So I don't know, guys. The masks are interesting. The doll mask is interesting. The bunny rabbit, Eric Rowan, always kills it. The buzzard looks interesting. The pig's different. I don't know. Oh, Ramjam, you said another point here. They may go to SmackDown as well. Oh, and who's to say they're exclusive to Raw? Well, true. I mean, they are malevolent, right? They are a malevolent force. They're not tied. And I think Nick Aldis, funnily enough, on X 20 minutes ago, when I say 20 minutes ago, but 20 minutes after the show ended, he just put 3 question marks. So he probably has doubts and probably has concerns that, that may be his locker room next on SmackDown. I mean, again, malevolence doesn't have any respect of character, any respect of who you are. Malice comes for everyone, essentially, one day or another, at least as the story goes in this thread. So, guys, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Again, a crazy, crazy, crazy Raw. But do me a favor, if you will. Again, if you want to follow me on Twitter at WrestleM Podcast. Again, WrestleM Podcast. So make sure to follow up on at Dotala_ as well as at A+ Opinions. Make sure to go to the A+ Hero Report YouTube channel, as you'll see WrestleManiacs Podcast underneath it. Make sure to like and comment and subscribe on there. Make sure to hit the bell notification icon as well. And I will see you guys and gals, you WrestleManiacs, you on NXT Review tomorrow night. Otherwise than that, you guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and keep wrestling fun. Talk to you soon. Later.